Well, welcome everybody. On behalf of everyone here today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the Sunshine Coast local government area, the Kabi people of the coastal plains and northern hinterland, and the Jinnabara peoples of the southern hinterland. Pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and to all First Nations people. I welcome our guests today and thank everybody for being here. Councillor Taylor Benung, Sunshine Coast Council, Joshua Pascoe, CEO of Basketball Queensland, Sean Page, General Manager of the Sunshine Coast Phoenix, and our players representing the Sunshine Coast Phoenix. Last night, the 2024 Mitsubishi Motors NBL1 North season tipped off down in Brisbane. And this Sunday, your home teams, the Phoenix, take to the court right here at the Maroochydore Stadium. And so what a better way to celebrate the start of a new season than to announce that the 2024 Mitsubishi Motors NBL1 National Finals are coming right here to the very beautiful Sunshine Coast. And I've been told you put it on for us today. Absolutely. Very well done. From August the 16th to the 18th, 12 of the very best male and female NBL1 teams from around the country will converge here and compete for the prestigious title of being national champs. I'd like to thank the Sunshine Coast Council, Basketball Queensland, Sunshine Coast Phoenix, University SC Rip City Basketball for their support of this event, and we're pleased to join them here today. I think I'd like to hand over to Councillor Taylor to say a few words.
Thanks, Vince, and I'd like to also start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gubbi people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Vince, Council is very proud to support the National Basketball League 1 finals coming to the Sunshine Coast, where the interest in sport is really soaring. It's going to give locals an opportunity, young people an opportunity to see their idols up close and in person, and further strengthen basketball's profile on the Sunshine Coast. Basketball is booming here on the Sunshine Coast, and it's only going to continue, with the planned indoor sports centre on the Sunshine Coast, which is going to be proposed to host Olympic basketball games for the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Supporting the NBL1 finals here on the Sunshine Coast in 2024 is the perfect opportunity for us to test community and corporate support for a potential expansion of an NBL franchise onto the Sunshine Coast. It's also a great opportunity for us to showcase our region as a high performance destination. And I'm really excited to be able to welcome the NBL to our different sporting centres, the Caloundra Indoor Centre and Uni SC Stadium in August. As Vince said, it's always a great time to visit the Sunshine Coast, particularly in August. As you can see today, there's never a bad time to visit the Sunshine Coast. And I know that we're really excited to be able to welcome the players, the coaches, the support staff, the referees to visit the Sunshine Coast. I think they're going to love our beaches, they're going to love our hinterland gems, they're going to love our community, and they're going to love our world-class sporting facilities. So we're absolutely delighted to be welcoming the NBL to the Sunshine Coast, and we can't wait to see the action in August.
Thanks very much. Thank you. No problem.
Thank you, Vince and Taylor, as well. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, pay my respects to the elders past and present. Echoing the sentiments of Vince and Taylor, the Sunshine Coast is a great destination for sport, but also for basketball. Increased growth over the last 2 to 3 years sees the Sunshine Coast region as one of the biggest regions for Basketball Queensland in participation. And events like this, bringing the NBL1 National Finals to the Sunshine Coast, will only enhance that. Councillor Taylor touched on the expansion of the 11 courts for the 2032 games that are coming up. Our data shows that for every new court that's built for basketball, 260 new participants come to the sport. So with 11 courts being built on the Sunshine Coast, there's going to be just over 3,500 people coming in to play basketball. It's doubling the participation of basketball on the Sunshine Coast. So events like this showcase the region, facility and infrastructure continue to promote the sport. So having the NBL1 National Finals on the Sunshine Coast, supported by the NBL Mitsubishi Motors as well, continues to grow the sport of basketball in Queensland. So we're really impressed and we're really excited to be able to do this in 2024.
Well, that concludes the announcement. More than happy for.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank
Please.
you. I appreciate it.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry, mate.
Go on, mate.
I from Sunshine Coast basketball's perspective, obviously it's a fantastic honour for us to be able to hold this event here on the Sunshine Coast. You know, and one thing I didn't know if this was planned or not, but ironically, Sunshine Coast basketball started about 300 yards over there on outdoor courts built by the then Maroochy Shire Council in 1972. When you consider the growth of the sport in this region over that time, and to think that in 2024 we'll be hosting the NBL1 National Final is obviously an amazing thing for Sunshine Coast basketball and for Sunshine Coast sport and for our region generally. And then with the new facility being built at Kawana and the prospect of 9 days of Olympic competition to be played here on the Sunshine Coast again, is just amazing for the sport and for the growth and for the opportunities of young people on the Sunshine Coast. So we thank the NBL and the NBL1. We thank Basketball Queensland for the opportunity, and we're excited to be involved and do what we can to make this event extremely successful. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Sean. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, mate. Thank you. Good, mate.
But that now concludes the announcement, but we're more than happy to take any questions if there are any. Of course.
Why did you choose the Sunshine Coast?
Well, basketball is just booming all over the country, but particularly here in Queensland, where we've had incredible success over recent years with a whole variety of programs. Sunshine Coast were eager to host this event, and we were looking for a partner that also wanted to showcase its wares using basketball and the NBL1 platform. So it was a simple decision, really, in the end, to come together. And we also know that our athletes are going to love coming to this part of the world to compete after what's going to be an incredible season on the court.
And do you know what venues will be used?
Yeah, so we're welcoming the NBL1 Finals to the Caloundra Indoor Sports Centre, and we're also going to be at the Uni SC Stadium.
And for this as well, we've seen NBL players withdraw the last couple of years. Are there any plans in place to stop that from happening, and do NBL clubs need to get on board?
Well, that's a really, really good question. And the athletes themselves enter into these agreements with the NBL1 clubs. We absolutely support the NBL players competing in the NBL1. I think last year we had a total of 67 out of 100 Australian players competing in the NBL1. So it's an incredibly important development pathway for our young Australian players. And as a league, we encourage all of our clubs and athletes to work together to make sure that the athletes can be available to play. Individual circumstances will sometimes dictate whether they do or don't, but from our perspective, it's all in, and look forward to seeing the very best go at it.
And are you happy with the strength of the NBL1 North club?
I'm happy with the strength of the competition more broadly throughout Australia. The NBL1 North has probably got something to fight for, given that the male champions came out of the South and the female champions also came out of the South. So I think everyone's chasing the same conference at the moment. It is nice to have a couple of players like Will Magnay and others back, though, playing up here in the conference, which is pretty amazing.
A question on the Brisbane Olympics. The Sunshine Coast would like to host some preliminary basketball games. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts? Yeah, bring it on. I think you're asking the wrong person. Wherever the basketball will be for the Olympics, the entire Australian basketball community will be, and if that's up here on the Sunshine Coast, then I think we'd welcome that. Yeah.
I've got one for you. With the success of the NBL Blitz last year, how important is it to have the basketball community in Queensland satisfied with another major event for them to enjoy?
Yeah, we really want to continue to grow the fan base of basketball in this region. We think it's a very important region. We have two teams in the NBL currently, with Brisbane Bullets and obviously the Cairns Taipans. We've been upfront that we think that there's another opportunity for further expansion here in the region, and so we want to continue to seed the appetite for the sport. I think the NBL1 Finals is a tremendous opportunity again for the local basketball fans and just sport fans in general to come out and see an incredibly high calibre, high level of competition right here in their own front yard.
Just got some questions for Sean as well.
Yeah.
How good is this for Coast basketball?
it's an amazing opportunity for our players, our young players, our coaches, our administrators, our officials, and our fans and our sponsors. And it's showcasing the pathway, and NBL1 has become a legitimate pathway. The college option is a great option for a lot of young people, but now I think our young Australian people are also saying, I can stay in Australia, go to university here and play NBL1 and be right on the verge of playing in the NBL, which is the best league in the country. In the country, but it's one of the best leagues in the world. So, yeah, this is just a great opportunity for our people.
And is it an extra incentive for the Phoenix to try and win the comp now?
I mean, yeah, of course it is. Wouldn't you love to play a home national tournament? So yeah, of course it is. But we got one goal, and that's to win on Sunday when we play our first game, and then we'll figure out the next one from there.
And how are you feeling ahead of Sunday?
Really good. Yeah, we're excited with our group. We have a fantastic group of young men. Our women's program has really made strides as well in their recruiting, and they've put a really nice team together as well. So both of our men's and women's programs are looking very, very strong, and we're excited about the season ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Got some questions for you.
Thank you. Sure.
Right, so how thrilled are you to have the beautiful Sunshine Coast be put on radars for people across Australia to come and enjoy the high stakes and competitive basketball of the NBL1 National Finals?
Oh, we're absolutely ecstatic. I mean, look at the weather we've turned on. August is a great time to welcome people from right across the country to come to the Sunshine Coast. And we know that basketball as a sport is absolutely booming, not just on the Sunshine Coast, but across Australia. So to be able to welcome people to the beautiful Sunshine Coast to see what we've got to offer, we're really, really excited.
And what does it do for the Sunshine Coast hosting Australia's premier basketball league's national finals?
Well, I think Sean made a really good point. Sunshine Coast basketball started on these very concrete courts that you see here, and it gives young boys and girls the opportunity to get in touch with our idols and see them up close and see how they perform and really take inspiration. We've got some really exciting things happening in basketball on the Sunshine Coast ahead of the Olympics, and it's just a great opportunity to inspire young people to get involved in the sport.
Okay.
Thank you.
So how important is it to represent Basketball Queensland at this year's national finals?
Yeah, look, from a Basketball Queensland perspective, we think any time that Queenslanders can get out and compete against the other states is important. We have under-18s nationals currently on. We have 3 of our 4 teams competing in quarterfinals. One's just progressed to the semi-final as well. For a state, when you look at Victoria with over 380,000 basketball participants, we have 70,000. We consistently go up against Victoria and either take a gold medal or take a silver medal in that space, but we're competing every time. Taking the fact of Vince's thing of NBL1 South won it, we sent Ipswich with 5 of their starters not playing. So maybe that it's in Queensland, we'll actually get our full team there and we'll see who comes out on top.
Absolutely. And with the constant rise in the next generation participating in basketball here in Queensland, what's your take on the growth of basketball in Queensland?
Yeah, look, I think that the sport's become the sport of choice in Queensland. When it comes to the safety of the sport, it's indoors. I mean, if you start to look at the fact of concussion and weather as 2 things, even just promoting an indoor sport that is considered safe by parents is one massive thing. I mean, I come from a soccer background originally, and I know that if you look at soccer this year so far, there's 7 weeks have already been cancelled just because of the rain. We don't get that in basketball. In addition to that, the rise of the NBL, the rise of the WNBL, the NBA as well promotes the sport massively for that younger generation. It's consumable from a social media standpoint. I mean, LeBron James has more of a social following than every sports star in Australia combined and every sports team in Australia combined. He sends out a tweet and pretty much the population of Australia sees it. So it is growing quickly. It's growing quicker than what most associations and states can handle. So again, facility investment from councils, from state government is desperately needed. Cool.
I might grab a player.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
These are the real
Now the
stars.
smack talk starts.
These are the real stars you want to talk to.
Alright, so what does it mean to have the possibility of playing the NBL1 National Finals right here on the Sunshine Coast?
Oh, it's an awesome opportunity, I think, for us, but more so for our juniors and the pathway it creates. They get to see the top caliber players all come here and play. We're hoping it's us. Like Sean said, we'll take it one game at a time. But yeah, I think the bigger picture is the pathways that the juniors get to see. So, yeah.
Could you say your name?
Oh, Jamal Roberto. Sorry. Was it? Yeah, thanks.
Let's get a female athlete up there. There you go.
Could you start with your name for us, please?
Hayley Andrews.
Great. What does it mean to have the possibility of playing in the NBL1 National Finals right here in Melbourne?
I think it's really exciting. I think it's a good way to get the local community involved that doesn't know much about basketball or the NBL1 competition level, and I think it, again, just creates that pathway for the juniors, even people who aren't interested in basketball, just kind of getting that eyesight on it.
Do you think you'll have a home court advantage?
Oh, definitely. I think just playing throughout the season will definitely help us, and then just kind of growing that fan base and growing that local community, getting involved to hopefully we are there. It carries on to the NBL1 championships.
How important do you think it is for young generations of female basketball players to see you guys playing on a stage like that?
I think it's huge. I think the growth of the women's game has come a long way over these last few years, and I think continues to grow. And especially being at such a nice community and area of Australia, it's good exposure for those younger girls who are looking to get involved in the basketball world. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.